Hello everybody, Mr. Akins here, and welcome to What's on the Comic Rack. Well, it's a new year, and a new year brings New Year resolutions and comic book collecting goals. So what kind of resolutions and comic book collecting goals does Mr. Akins have for the upcoming year? Well, one comic book collecting goal is I'm going to start collecting the works of John Byrne that I don't already own. Number two, I'm really close to finishing my Volume 1 run of Iron Man. I think that's very achievable next year. The main one I'm missing is issue number 55, which is a key. Number three is more of a resolution for YouTube, being more consistent doing videos and uploading those videos. And number four, I want to read more comics. Now, wanting to read more comics, there's always that idea of where I'm going to start. So what I've decided is I've gone back to my long boxes, done a little bit of research, and I figured out exactly where I first started reading comics. And that's what this video is about. I'm going to show off the very first comics that I've ever read. So let's get to looking at those comics, Jambo Style.
It's 1976, sometime after April, because this comic right here was released in April of 1976. I'm 7 years old, and my mischievous self is going somewhere I'm not supposed to go, and that's my brother's room. Right inside the door on the dresser, there is this beauty right here. Well, not this actual one, because that one was cut to pieces. Marvel's Greatest Comics, number 64. This comic reprints Fantastic Four, number 82, covered by Jack Kirby and Joe Sinnott. I assumed that this was just a reprinted cover, but that's not the case. This cover was actually redrawn. Here's an image of the actual cover for Fantastic Four number 82. And now I can actually see a difference. I don't think there's a better way to be exposed to comics than picking up a Stanlee story and seeing some Jack Kirby art. Here are just a few of, dare I say, fantastic panels in this comic. Kirby's art is so dynamic, so visually stunning. Characters leap across panels and pages, and nobody draws visually stunning science fiction fantasy like Jack Kirby. Nobody. No wonder I fell in love with comic books. Not all the comic books my brother had were from 1976 though. He also had this gem right here. Fantastic Four number 91 from 1969. One of my favorite Fantastic Four theme covers. This is also not the comic I quote unquote found in my brother's room. My wife says, no wonder he doesn't talk to you that much. This is the actual comic I got out of the room in 1976. There seemed to be a corner box missing right there. I had a tendency to cut pictures of characters out of comics, tape them to cardboard stands, and play out my own adventures with them. Corner boxes were the absolute best. They showed the character in full pose and were all proportionally the same size. Perfect to cut out and have adventures. I also seem to have found some pictures of the Human Torch to cut out to go with the thing. What else came out in 1976 that I remember reading as a kid? Or more importantly, what survived the scissors and is still in my collection or has since been added back to my collection? Let's go back to January of 1976. Iron Man number 85. If Iron Man should fail, the freak shall inherit the earth. Apparently I got this comic from Oris Davis right here. Signed copy. Wonder if I could send that off to CBCS for signature verification, and just how much will that increase the price of my comic here? Maybe we all did this as a kid, but obviously I traded this for something and got this comic from Oris Davis. Witness the dramatic new change in Iron Man's armor. Len Wein and Herb Trimpe present the newest modifications in Iron Man's armor. And exactly what are these modifications? This happens to be the first appearance of Iron Man's Mark IV armor. So what's so important about this armor? Well, it was a return to the noseless faceplate, and the famous suit-up scene in Avengers Infinity War was inspired by this armor. What else came out in January of 1976? That would be Marvel Team Up number 44. Moondragon is drawn back to the Salem witch trials to face a death in the year before yesterday. Doctor Doom, the Vision, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man, all these characters star in this Bill Mantlo, Sal Buscema blast from the past. Plus, the origin of the Black Rider. Now, how did this comic and Iron Man number 85 escape my 7-year-old scissors? I think it's because there are no full character pictures in either one of these comics. Full character pictures would immediately get cut out. I'm not saying the art's not great in either one of these. It's just the fact that those full character pictures were not showcased in either one of these issues. So in 1976, there were two Fantastic Four titles that were coming out. There were reprints and there were the new issues. This is Fantastic Four number 169, covered by Rich Butler and Joe Sinnott. When I reread this, I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed this issue. During this time, Ben Grimm is no longer the thing, and the team has actually hired Luke Cage, hero for hire, to replace him. It's odd my introduction to the Fantastic Four had Sue Storm being replaced by Crystal of the Inhumans, and in this comic, the Thing is being replaced by Luke Cage. This is something John Byrne did during his run on the FF with the She-Hulk. I remember when that happened, and I'm such a Thing fan, I was really upset, but John Byrne quickly won me over with the She-Hulk. Another interesting note about this issue is Luke Cage asking Susan Storm why she is still calling herself the Invisible Girl and not the Invisible Woman. Susan doesn't start calling herself the Invisible Woman until issue number 284, which again was during John Byrne's run on the title. Now, Rich Butler did an excellent job in the interior artwork. A lot of homages to Jack Kirby's style, but it's perfect. The exact type of art I want to see inside a comic book. So what else came out in January of 1976? Well, number 10 on that list, Defenders number 34, brought to you by Steve Gerber and Sal Buscema. Number 9, Doctor Strange number 13, brought to you by Steve Englehart and Gene Colan. Number 8, this is Hulk number 198, brought to you by Len Wein and Sal Buscema. Now this has a Man-Thing appearance, and what we have to ask ourselves, does Mon Comics have this issue or not? Number 7, The Amazing Spider-Man number 155, brought to you by Len Wein and Sal Buscema, cover by John Romita. Now, this makes a total of 4 total issues so far that Sal Buscema has penciled in just 1 month. The man was really working in 1976. Number 6, Thor number 246, brought to you by Len Wein and John Buscema. Now we've got 3 titles written by Len Wein so far. Number 5, Avengers number 146. Number 4, Captain America number 196. This one's definitely on my list because of the king himself, Jack Kirby. Something new about this issue are those corner box logos of Captain America and the Falcon. Perfect for cutting out. Number 3, X-Men number 98, brought to you by Chris Claremont and Dave Cockrum. This issue actually has a Clark Kent homage in this issue. Who can tell me exactly what page that actual homage is on? Number 2, Tomb of Dracula number 43. Cover by Bernie Wrightson, and that's the reason it's in this spot. Beautiful Bernie Wrightson cover, but the interior was brought to you by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan. So if that's number 2, what's number 1? Number 1 is Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man. This was actually on the shelves in 1976. I definitely remember seeing it, and it is definitely on my list to get.
Jambo Style. Now let's talk about Jambo Style. I have a viewer that said, hey, I don't exactly know what Jambo Style is. Well, there is another YouTuber called Jambo Comics. I've never seen the person's face, but the only thing he does is show the comics, puts the comics front and center, and that's what I mean by Jambo Style.